Well, I'm about 3/4 of an hour drive north of the World Trade Center site, and in many respects I'm a world away from all that's going on there and has happened there. Around here is where the New York City Parks Department grows a lot of its trees for the entire area, and the director of the citywide nursery is Richie Carbo, and he joins us now. Richie, lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you for having us here.
My pleasure.
Let's jump back a decade first. Where were you on 9/11 when you heard what was happening?
During 9/11, we were actually having a meeting on the other side of the greenhouses, and one of the gardeners came running out, and he said that a plane had accidentally hit one of the trade towers. So we all got up and ran to turn on the TV, and when we were looking, we all saw when the second plane hit. So it was like unbelievable, you know, to see like the second plane hit. We knew something, it wasn't an accident, you know, it was obvious. The word terrorist wasn't, a terrorist attack wasn't in like our forefront of our heads, but we knew we were on some type of an attack. And then it just became mayhem. The police came running up here, and it was a pretty crazy scene, even up here as quiet as it seems.
Now, as I mentioned at the start, we are somewhat removed from the World Trade Center site here, but in the weeks and months after that attack, this place became very pivotal for the healing of not just that site, but the people of New York. Tell us what the connection of this place is to what happened down there.
We had heard rumors of a tree that was found at the World Trade site. It was a callery pear, and they were talking about bringing the tree up here. And from the description, they said the tree was hanging like in a pit almost, leaning to the side. They had to go in and pull the tree out, and it was pretty dangerous. Then the tree was brought here about a month after the attacks on a flatbed truck. And when the tree came in, we were all expecting it, but we didn't really know what to expect. And when the tree came in, it looked like a wounded soldier. It was totally decapitated, and it was full of ash around the crown, where the crown used to be. It was an unbelievable sight.
In your heart and your head at that stage, when you looked at this wounded soldier, this bit of tree, what hope did you give it and yourself of bringing it back to life?
To tell you the truth, I had just started working in the Parks Department just a few months before that spring, and Bobby Zapala was the manager at the time, and he had ran the tree nursery back at Rikers Island. So he said that he thought we might be able to save the tree, and he's the one who headed it up when it first came up. He was the manager at the time. You know, now I took over the nursery, but when I first saw the tree as a newcomer to parks and trees, I said, wow, you know, that tree looks like it's not going to make it. I didn't think that the tree could survive, to be honest with you. And then the following spring, after we healed the tree in and we nurtured it, we put new compost and we mulched it over the winter, and we used a bionutrient roots chemical. It's not a chemical, it's a natural mycorrhizae that helped it to get new roots. That was what made the big difference. The tree was able to grow new roots and get stronger. In the spring it came too.
What was it like for you to watch this tree come back to life?
It was amazing. It was like a really, really good feeling, because in the winter when we planted it, you know, the pre-winter when we planted it, it was pretty much going to go dormant, so there wasn't going to be any new growth. So we basically had to wait till the spring to see if the tree had any chance. And when you saw the buds starting to bud open, it was a good feeling to know that the tree was going to live.
So you've nursed it through several seasons, many seasons. It's grown, and it left here. It left this nursery, what, 8 months ago, and taken back down to its home in effect. What was that day like for you?
It was amazing, because as you see right down the road there's trees coming in right now in the trucks. For us to take care of the tree, it was part of the job that we do, and we kind of took for granted how important it was. And as the tree was leaving, it was an emotional time for me, because it brought me back to when my daughter was in my wife's belly in 2001. And also I was a retired officer who, when I came here, I was shot in the line of duty, and I myself was recovering. So it brought me back to when I first started in the Parks Department and I was recovering, and then to see the tree recover and go back. And incidentally, you know, my accident was on December 21st. The tree left here on December 21st. It was like a weird, like, omen. Yeah.
Now, I noticed just a moment ago, you referred to the tree not as an it, but as a she. Tell us about that connection. Is it due to the connection to the tree that you call it a she?
Yeah, it was. People asked me why did I call it a she, and I just said it felt naturally. But when the tree first came in, to me it was more of an it. I had no connection to the tree. But in my book that I have here, this is called The Mystery of the Magical Cucumber Tree. I write about also the relationship with the 9/11 survivor tree. And it's important because as you take care of a tree, or as the tree marks different times in your life, you become really connected to a tree. And for us, the tree became like a family to everybody in the nursery, not just to me. We were all attached to it, and it marked certain points in our life. You know.
And life goes on with the survivor tree as well. If we can just wander over here, I believe these are the carefully tended offspring from the survivor tree, is that right?
Yes, these 3 years ago, when I first came back as the manager of the citywide nursery, I said, let's try to propagate the tree because it's an important tree. So we took some cuttings, and these are clones of the original 9/11 survivor tree. And from these clones, we will proceed to take more cuttings, because when the tree is young, you can get a lot more success in propagation. Mm-hmm. So we're going to develop a whole stock of new survivor trees from the children of the original.
The survivor tree back down at the site is growing and healthy. You've got the children of the survivor trees here. What do you think all of this means to not just New Yorkers, but to Americans, and indeed everyone around the world that has experienced this over the past decade?
The tree has become a symbol of survival and recovery for, I think, pretty much for, it started as a New York thing, but I think it has become a thing for America. President Obama came down and put the wreath right at the foot of the tree recently. So people everywhere are looking to this tree for survival and recovery.
And as we're just about to commemorate with this ceremony at the site, and your tree is going to be part of it, what sort of emotions are inside you now?
The emotions are running deep inside me all the time. I was driving up 87 to pick up my children, and I looked to the side and I saw a callery pear in flower, and I made the phone call to everybody, like, we got to check the tree down at ground zero. She's probably in flower. And that's when everybody went and took pictures of the tree in flower, because I realized that it was in flower. So I'm connected to the tree even though I'm not with it. It's like I think about it, pretty much all the time.
You're like a proud father.
That's how I felt when it was going back. I said, wow, this is almost like a wedding. It's almost like I'm giving away my daughter. It's like, that's how it felt, like a big part of my life.
It's a big part of all our lives now, Richie Cabo. Thanks for all the work you did.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for coming down all this way to see the tree and the clones.